Georgia decided, and Senator Kyrsten Sinema from Arizona also decided. Surprising news hit the headlines only 3 days after the runoff in Georgia. Hi, I'm Yu, your navigator in this channel. In the Senate runoff in Georgia, incumbent Democrat Raphael Warnock won, defeating Republican challenger Herschel Walker, who was endorsed by former President Donald Trump. With this last one seat, the Democratic Party has won an outright majority in the U.S. Senate. That's what we thought. Then just on Friday, December the 9th, 2022, Senator Sinema, Democrat, announced that she would be leaving the Democratic Party and registering as an independent. Today, we've got to work on these two topics on Georgia and Arizona. Are you ready? Let's get going. Hi again. The departure of Senator Sinema from the Democratic Party highlighted the importance of winning the runoff in Georgia. First, here is the new breakdown of the Senate starting from January the 3rd, 2023. As a result of Georgia runoff, the number of the Democrats were supposed to be 51 and the Republicans 49. But 51 seats for the Democrats include 2 independents who caucus with the Democrat in the U.S. Congress. Actual breakdown would be 49 Democrats, 49 Republicans, and 2 independents who caucus with the Democrats. But with the announcement by Senator Sinema, the breakdown will be like this. 2 of the 3 independents caucus with the Democrats. The question is whether Senator Sinema will also caucus with Democrats. Simply put, the new party breakdown will be like this. Which party is the majority? In today's video, we are going to review the Senate runoff in Georgia and do some analysis on the background of Democrats' victory in the red state, impact of Senator Sinema's breakaway, Senate elections in 2024. Now let us review the Senate race in Georgia. The general election was held on November the 8th, 2022. It was virtually a battle between incumbent Democrat Raphael Warnock and Republican candidate Herschel Walker, who was endorsed by former President Donald Trump. In the first election on November 8th, Warnock got 49.44%. Walker got 48.49%. No candidate won the majority votes. In such a case, the Georgia Code, the law requires a runoff between the top 2 vote-getters on the 28th day after the general election. So Warnock and Walker remained for the runoff. The result was Warnock gained 51.37% and Walker gained 48.63%. Warnock won. In Georgia, There were two Senate runoff elections in 2020. One was a regular election for Class II senators. It was a battle between Republican incumbent David Perdue and Jon Ossoff, a Democrat. The other one was a special election between Raphael Warnock and Republican Kelly Loeffler. No candidate won a majority in both elections. And in the regular election runoff, Ossoff won. In the special election runoff, Warnock won. So in Georgia, 6 Senate elections were held in 3 years, including 3 runoffs. And the Democrats have won all the Senate races. Currently, 2 of the U.S. Senate seats are both dominated by Democrats. Well, Georgia has been thought to be a red state. As a matter of fact, in this year's midterm elections for governor, secretary of state, and attorney general, Republican candidates were elected. Georgia has 14 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. The Republican candidates won 9 seats. What made it possible for a Democrat to win the Senate seat? Let's get back to primaries. In the Republican primary for the governor, Brian Kemp won against Trump-endorsed David Perdue, former senator who lost in 2020 Senate election. In the primary for Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger defeated Trump-endorsed Jody Hice. And the primary for Attorney General, too, Chris Carr fended off Trump-endorsed John Gordon. The winners are all incumbents, but they won by wide margins. It's possible Georgian voters, even Republicans, avoided or at least didn't enthusiastically support Trumpists. Proving it is difficult, though. What about other factors? One explanation is the high turnout and early voting rate. The election division of the Secretary of State's office announced that both turnout and early voting broke midterm records. But just high turnout rate and early voting doesn't give advantage to Warnock. So, let's take a closer analytical look at the figures. Warnock won in populated counties. This is the list of the top 10 most populous counties in Georgia. And the map of Georgia. Warnock won in 8 of the most populous counties. Walker won in 2 counties. Warnock gained 76.58% of Fulton, where state capital Atlanta is located, and the most populated county. The population has been increasing in and around Atlanta. According to the 2020 census, adult population increased by 10.1% in Georgia. It means eligible voters also increased, among all, in the populated counties. And in Gwinnett, Warnock got more than 62% of the votes, and in DeKalb and Clayton, he got more than 80%. With this background in mind, the high turnout and early voting better explain the results. According to the election division, there were 1,715,107 in-person early voting and 189,954 absentee voting, which makes more than 1.9 million. Former President Trump criticized early voting and mail-in voting. It's easy to imagine who used this early voting system. Not the supporters of Walker. When it comes to demographic trend, racial breakdown of the population has been dramatically changing in Georgia. This pie chart shows the racial breakdown. The population of white people is green. Orange is black or African American, and gray is others. White people are slightly more than 50% according to the 2020 census. 10 years before, which means in 2010, the breakdown was like this. And 20 years before, the ratio of the white was about 66%. 30 years before, that's 1990, white people were more than 70% of the population of Georgia. Let's compare 1990 with 2020. It's obvious that the number of white people has decreased and African Americans and others have increased. A large number of white people are said to be the supporters of Republican Party. African American and Latinos tend to support the Democratic Party. Well, generally speaking, the demographic change must be one of the factors that made the red state a little bit purple. Let's see the historical trend of the percentage of the votes the Democrats and the Republicans received. This is the Senate elections. There was an uncontested election in 1990, and this is the period that Georgia turned red. The next one is the gubernatorial elections. And this is the presidential elections. We shouldn't forget that President Jimmy Carter, a Democrat, is from Georgia, and he's also a former governor of Georgia. There are some more explanations about Warnock's victory. Walker was not able to get rid of the negative impressions of scandals. Reports and allegations of his paying for his girlfriends for having abortion cast doubt about his pro-life stance. Warnock questioned Walker's fitness to serve. And money. NBC News reported, by quoting research by Ad Impact, that Warnock and Democratic allies outspent Walker and Republican outside groups over airwaves by more than a 2-to-1 margin. According to the report, $52.5 million was spent for Warnock, whereas $25 million was spent for Walker during the runoff campaign period from November the 9th to December the 5th. With Warnock's victory in Georgia, everybody thought the Democratic Party won an outright majority until Democrat Senator Kyrsten Sinema announced she's leaving the Democratic Party. What does just one seat mean to the Democratic Party and Biden administration? First, let's check the number of seats in the Senate. Both the Democrats and the Republicans. Currently, the Democrats have 48 seats plus 2 independents who caucus with the Democrats. So virtually, the number of seats is 50. And the Republicans have 50 seats too. It's literally 50-50. When the senators vote for or against a bill in line with the party policies, Vice President Kamala Harris cast a tie-breaking vote in the capacity of the President of the Senate, as written in the Constitution. As a result of the runoff in Georgia, Democratic Party gained one more seat, making the number 49 plus 2 independents. The total was 51, and the Republican Party decreased the number from 50 to 49. So with 51 seats, including 2 independents who caucus with the Democrats, the Democratic Party wouldn't have to depend on the tie-breaking vote by Kamala Harris. Second, one seat could become a buffer in the case that one senator votes against a certain bill which the Democratic Party wants to make into law. Remember what happened when Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia opposed the Inflation Reduction Act proposed by President Biden and his fellow Democrats. Many of you remember, I think, that it is sometimes senators like Kyrsten Sinema or Joe Manchin who confronted other Democrats. Even though the Democrats persuade some Republicans to support bills submitted by the Democratic Party, defections from within would gum up such efforts. With Sinema's breakaway, the number of the pure Democrats will decrease from 49 to 48. If Sinema does not caucus with the Democrats, you must subtract Sinema's seat from the Democratic Party. As a result, the total will also decrease. Still, the Democrats maintain the control of the Senate by a narrow margin. If Sinema or another Democrat doesn't vote in accordance with the policy of the Democratic Party, the votes would split again 50-50. So in that case, Kamala Harris would cast a tie-breaking vote. Third, the composition of the Senate committees. In practice, compositions or the ratios of the standing committee reflect the number of the majority and minority parties. By having majority in each standing committee, the Democratic Party will have less obstacles in passing and adopting bills and nominations before reporting to the plenary. There must be partisan resistance in the House, but the appointment of judges, ambassadors, and executive officers need the advice and consent of the Senate as written in the United States Constitution. It means a lot to secure the control of the Senate. Now, let's get back to the decision of Senator Sinema. First, who is Kyrsten Sinema? Born in Tucson, Arizona, she's now 46 years old. According to her bio, her family struggled to make ends meet, and for a while they were even homeless. With the help of student loans, academic scholarships, and financial aid, she studied in these universities. In politics, once affiliated with the Green Party and failed to win in 2002 State House election, Sinema ran for the State House in 2004 from the Democratic Party and was elected. She served as a State House representative for 3 terms and Senate for 1 term and resigned to run for the U.S. House and was elected. After 3 terms as a U.S. House representative, she ran for the U.S. Senate and was elected. Currently, she is a member of 4 Senate committees. But she sometimes voted against bills that the Democratic Party prioritized. She doesn't support tax increases and voted against, for example, a bill to change filibuster rules in the Senate, together with the Republicans and another Democrat, Joe Manchin of West Virginia. A very controversial politician. Sinema hasn't clarified whether she keeps caucusing with the Democrats. She wrote in the Arizona Republic op-ed, This Senate seat doesn't belong to Democratic or Republican bosses in Washington. It doesn't belong to one party or the other, and it doesn't belong to me. She also tweeted on Twitter, "Becoming an independent won't change my work in the Senate. My service to Arizona remains the same." And she posted a video. Let's view and listen to it.
Decisions about what's best for ourselves, our family, and our community. And so we don't spend a lot of time thinking about, is this a Republican idea or is this a Democratic idea? Is this liberal or is this conservative? That's not how Arizonans think. What I love about serving is that I get to hear from Arizonans day in and day out about what's working in Washington, or more frequently, what's not working in Washington. Registering as an independent and showing up to work with the title of independent is a reflection of who I've always been. And it's a reflection of who Arizona is. We don't line up to do what we're told. We do what's right for our state and for our country. I'm going to be the same person I've always been. That's who I am.
I'm going to be the same person I've always been. She doesn't sound like she's turning her back on the Democratic Party. Here is an interesting report by 538. In the Congress, she has voted 93% in line with President Biden's policies. So even if she switches from Democrat to Independent, I guess she would join the Republicans only in exceptional cases. But if exceptional cases are critical to the Democratic Party or Biden administration, well, that's why one seat that Raphael Warnock won in Georgia is very important. Some U.S. media report that Senator Sinema intends to maintain her committee assignments from the Democratic Party. Very confusing. Let's keep watching Senator Sinema's stance. Winning a Senate seat in Georgia might help the Democratic Party in the next Senate election in 2024. And Sinema's breakaway might create negative circumstances to the Democrats. This year, the elections were held for 34 seats of Class 3 senators. A special election was also held in Oklahoma, which makes the total number 35. In the next Senate elections in 2024, elections of 33 Class 1 senators will be held. The current breakdown of 33 seats is 20 Democrats, excluding Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona. She belongs to Class 1 and is facing an election in 2024. And 2 independents who caucus with the Democrats in the Senate. And it's not clear yet how we should understand the stance of independent Kyrsten Sinema, and there are 10 Republicans. Two-thirds of the senators won't face elections. On the Democrat side, there are 28 such senators. There are 39 Republican senators without elections in 2024. It's complicating to see the Democratic Party with Sinema's uncertain status. So let's take a look at the Republican Party. They need to secure 51 seats, and they currently have 49. And 10 seats will be contested, so the Republicans need to win at least in 12 states. The Democratic Party needs to win in 23 states to maintain control. It's not an easy job. I'm going to tell you why. This is the list of the states where Senate elections are supposed to be held in 2024. let me color them based on the incumbent's party affiliation and sort them out. 10 Republicans and 23 Democrats or independents, including Arizona, where Kyrsten Sinema is from. And let's rearrange this list so that we can see staunchly Republican states and stalwart Democrat states. Like this. I hope many of you agree to this labeling. But there must be people who say, isn't Florida a red state? Well, Florida has long been regarded as a swing state. But yes, if you think of the recent political environment there, the state is certainly getting redder and redder. From here, let us do some simulations, not the projection or a prediction. So now, suppose that Florida was to be taken by a Republican and some other states. Let's take these states into the Republicans and Democrats. Now in this simulation, 10 Republicans are supposed to win the same number as the incumbents, 2 more seats for a majority. I was reluctant to include Ohio and West Virginia in the Republican territory because in both states, incumbent senators are Democrats. But even setting aside Ohio and West Virginia, look, there are going to be, again, battlefields in some states, as in this year's midterm elections. Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. We've heard all these states repeatedly in this video series too. And it is true that there are reports, rumors, and speculations about the results of Montana, Ohio, and West Virginia. It's because of the results of the last presidential elections in those states where Donald Trump won. What we can say at the moment is the Democratic Party will face a very severe situation. The Democrats will have to win in all the 23 states of incumbents to maintain the majority. The Republican Party needs to secure the current 10 seats and win 2 more. The departure of Senator Kyrsten Sinema from the Democratic Party has created more uncertainty in Arizona's next election. If Sinema runs in 2024, the Democratic Party may have its own candidate. The party's supporters would splinter, and there might be a chance for the Republican Party to win. It's still in the stage of speculation and simulation. We still have 2 years to go. Politics is a world of give and take and negotiations and compromises. I'm Yu. I hope you enjoyed today's video. This series will continue. Don't forget to subscribe. I will see you soon. Bye.